That is a judgment by someone else's mind and a judgment by your mind. And this is where I hate to break it to you, but a judgment by your mind is not reality. A judgment by somebody else's mind is not reality. If it was, then people could judge and say, oh, I think this person's a millionaire. Does that put $1 million in your bank account? Fuck no. They're thoughts. Thoughts are not reality. It's crazy, but we all live in this world where we think thoughts are reality. They're not. And this is where people will say, but what about the efficacy? Like, if people treat you a certain way, that'll affect your life. All that stuff is true. There is a reality of how people will treat you, but that doesn't make you who you are. How people treat you is how people treat you. Does that kind of make sense? Like, even the language that we use, there's a difference between treated a certain way and what you are. And the more that you look at it, and this is where, like, you can take a shit, you can be president of the United States, you can be a dictator, you can be Hitler, you can be an influencer, you can be a child, you can be a bum. We all take shits. We're all human at the end of the day. And so there are certain practices, like Shunya is like the Sanskrit word for null or zero or void. So there are some practices that you can do in meditation that, like, you literally dissolve your sense of identity. And the more that you do it, it's liberating. Because if you really think about it, who is the person that suffers? It's the ego. So I'm a medical doctor today, which means that if one day someone takes away my medical license, then I will suffer. I will get pride from my medical license, and I buy myself some degree of suffering from losing my medical license. The moment that I become a father, I get some joy in life from that identity, and I also open myself up to suffering if my kids ever say they hate me or something bad happens or whatever. So we don't realize that if you really pay attention, the majority of people's suffering in life comes from their sense of identity. Because, I'm number one. The moment that you become number one, you open yourself up to becoming number two and the suffering that goes with it. Right? So you have to get rid of the pride and you have to get rid of the shame. Get rid of all of it. And then people are like, but then what am I going to do? And this is where I challenge you, Chris. Think about the best moments in your life. The best moments in your life is when you really need to take a piss. You really need to take a piss. You really need to take a piss. And then you run into the bathroom and all the urinals are occupied. And then you're like, oh shit. And then someone finishes up. Thank God. You take a piss. Bliss.